Down the outside of the golf cart, that's Mackenzie. 2 wheels out on the grass. What an overtake. If he can make this stick, he might go right around and lead this little bunch.
Welcome to the Lakeside round video. So this is a pretty cool video. I get to use this awesome helmet camera because it's not a Motorsport Australia event, so I was pretty stoked to give that a test. And also, coming from sim racing, there was a couple of interesting lessons that I learnt that other sim racers might find interesting. As you saw in my thumbnail, I had a bit of an incident, and that incident was caused by brake knockoff. One of my fellow competitors, Mark, had a bit of a chuckle after I come in and said, "Sims don't simulate brake knockoff," and truer words have never been spoken. They certainly don't. I wish they did, so that I was a bit more prepared for what happened. But brake knockoff is when you normally go over a curb that's got those bumps on it and it shakes your brake. So when you go to brake next, your brake is not in the same position. You actually push way further past where you normally brake, and it doesn't brake as good. So when you're not expecting it and this happens and you're heading into a corner, obviously it can create some dramas for you, which it did for me. The way you get rid of brake knockoff is you just tap your brakes a little bit and your brakes will be fine. So normally this only occurs when you go over those curbs with those ripples in it, but as Lakeside Park is possibly the bumpiest track on the entire planet, brake knockoff happens the entire way you go around. So as you're heading into the two major braking zones at turn 2 and also Hungary's, the second last corner, you need to tap your brakes so that you can actually brake when you get to them. So this caught me out, which made me have my incident, which we're going to see in a bit. When you're sim racing, you have a lot of offs, you have some big huge crashes, and you reset your car and it didn't cost you any money and it didn't scare you at all, and you just keep going. Confidence just remains high the whole time you're sim racing. When you're real racing, an incident can really shake you up. My incident wasn't even bad. That same incident at any other track would have been a nothing incident, no damage, no anything. But because Lakeside floods, you might have seen a video I did a while back where there was a guy canoeing down the straight. That was actually this track, and this was the straight that, the front straight was the straight that he was canoeing down. So as there's a lot of water runoff at this track, beside that turn there's a really big gutter where water runs down. So because of that, my nose hit the gutter and sprung off. Well, completely got destroyed. Besides my nose, there was no damage to my car. I just had to put another nose on. It ripped out a mount that you use to mount the nose cone, but it was nothing serious. But just that incident just really shot my confidence. That happened in qualifying, and because that happened in qualifying, the next race I taped my spare nose cone on, and I went out there and I was planning just to make sure my car was alright. Unfortunately, one of my spark plugs had come loose, so I was only running on 3 cylinders. I could hear that the car sounded a bit off, so I came in on the second lap just because I knew something wasn't right with the engine, and having just had that off, I just wanted to make sure I wasn't going to do any damage to the engine. The race after, I also took easy because I just wanted to make sure everything was good. Everything was good, but then it was just a matter of trying to bring my confidence up. So that was race 2. Here's the incident coming up now. Push me brake pedal, it's nothing there, and go a little bit wide. Nose hits the gutter off the track and explodes the nose. Race 3, still trying to build my confidence up, and by the time I got to race 4, I was ready to have a bit more of a crack. Still definitely not as confident as before, but ready to have a crack. Before that incident happened though, I was actually racing really, really well. I wasn't very far behind Mark and Scott, the 2 guys in the second pack, which was my aim for the weekend. I was well and truly on track to make that goal, but after I had that off, it just really shook my confidence for the rest of the weekend. here we are at the start of the last race of the weekend. I was ready to have a crack, and then I noticed there was this mystery fluid coming out of Ed's car ahead. You'll see it when he turns left, it just goes splashing out everywhere. Turned out that he didn't have his petrol cap on, so every time he was turning to the left, it was sloshing out the side of his car, but he was unaware of it. Lakeside does a rolling start, which I'm not a fan of. I much prefer standing ones. The car beside me technically should not be in front of me as we cross the finish line, which he was. So I think they might call that a jump start. In any case, he gives me the position back as we go around turn 2. He had also seen the fluid coming out of Ed's car, and same as me, was very keen to just take it easy for the first couple of laps to see how everyone else handled that fluid. We are quite far way back in case everyone slips on oil, but it wasn't, so it was okay. We're going to fast forward. Not much happens for this opening bit, and we'll slow it down on the straight. You'll be able to see, I forget the guy's name in the yellow car, we'll just call him Yellow Car. He was right near me. I didn't know if he was going to jump down the side, so I made sure I broke as late as I could, and unfortunately I cooked it going into this corner, so I gave him a chance to get up my inside. Wasn't that worried about it, as I knew I had lots of pace on him, so I knew I could get him back pretty easy. It was just a matter of getting it done. My main focus in this race was just to finish ahead of him, so that I was only one position behind Ed, my main rival for the Rookie of the Year. So the passing opportunity gets set up way back here. The idea was just to make sure I was in his draft. I actually should have been a bit closer, but it wasn't too bad. As you'll see, I'm able to get him under brakes down at the end of the straight. So there's getting him under brakes. At this stage I knew I just had to keep him behind me, which was just a matter of getting good exits at a couple of corners. We'll just fast forward a bit. And I'm going to slow down coming around when we get, I'm going to slow down again when we get onto the next straight. Here we go. We had a slower car all weekend. He was the guy that totaled his car in the first round at Morgan Park, the Rookie as well. He hadn't raced until this round, and this is a very intimidating track with all the barriers really close and how bumpy everything is. So he was driving quite slow, so as you can see there's a huge speed difference. So we just had to navigate around him, which actually gave Yellow Car a chance to catch up with me. But again, I knew I just had to do good exits at coming onto the main straight, the last turn for the main straight, and then also for turn 2, which I was able to do for the rest of the race. Now, something I've been meaning to mention in my other videos is just how awesome Formula Vee is as a category. So when I had my off and my nose cone had exploded and I didn't have that connection point to put my new one on, my spare one on, sorry. The boys come over, everyone helped me get my spare nose cone on so that I had a chance to do the next race. So just helping out like that is just something you don't see in the other categories, or certainly not to the extent that you do in the Formula Vee. It's really good, plus all the meals that we share together afterwards. It's just a really good camaraderie that's in the category. So what actually Lakeside does differently besides rolling starts is they make you wear a headpiece, and inside that headpiece you have race control talking to you. I don't mind this system, it's pretty good because they're telling you when there's an incident. They don't tell you where. I think they use the word clamp down, which means you've got to slow down to yellow speed, and also red lights will come up. So the red lights don't mean the end of the race, but they will also be able to tell you to come into the pits if a session gets red flagged because of a crash. The end of this race was a bit funny with them though, because they didn't actually say anything to us on the headset, but you can see some red lights will be up, coming up soon. So we weren't really sure of what was going on, because normally they would tell us clamp down, so you see the red light. And because they hadn't told us clamp down, we didn't know if we were racing or not, but as we had the light, I was happy to just go slow and make sure I maintained the gap with the guy behind. So that's what I did. And that's the end of this video. Like, subscribe. This weekend we're back at Morgan Park, so there'll be another video up in a few weeks. See you around.